What's up, Liron here. Today we're going to review paintings by John Yardley, and then I'm going to recreate one of them. What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another episode of Painting Masters. Today we're going to look at John Yardley. This is a very interesting character. He's a British watercolor painter. He used to be a banker for most of his life. Then at age 53 decided to make art his main thing and really dove deep into painting. I suppose he was painting all of that time, but he only became really serious about it at a very later stage in life. His work is beautiful, and I think the way I came across him was from the APV videos, you know, the art educational videos. I actually purchased two courses, one Alvaro Castanet, one Joseph Zbukvic, and I just saw his work and I immediately saved that tab and left it open for a while because it really made me change my mind about many things. So what he does, I think the main difference is that his approach is very simplistic. He doesn't care about necessarily merging everything together and making sure all of the washes are even and connecting all of the shadows. And you know, I've seen some comments about this. Connecting the shadows and connecting different areas is a stylistic choice. Okay, this is something that's important for me to tell you my opinion about. And he really goes and proves that you don't have to connect everything. What he does is really work in patches. He's like, this roof should be darker. This area should be lighter. I'm going to leave a highlight here. And it just works his way around the painting. He says it. I don't really have an order. I just start and work at it. He does make use of some wet and wet, of course, but for the most part, he's not too concerned with that, like some other artists that say it all has to be harmonious and interconnected. So this is really refreshing to me, and it also takes off a lot of the pressure. You don't feel like you're forced to have everything connected together, and I like that a lot. So what we're going to do is review some of his paintings, then we're going to focus on one, and I'm going to recreate it. So let's get started.
Okay, so let's get started, and I thought I'd show you a large variety of his works because he has a lot of different stuff. So he has a lot of horse carriage kind of paintings, which I really love, and already you can see how he really works in areas. He just chooses an area to focus on, and then he paints that, so the sky, then the roof, and you can see the gaps in between, but still, when you maybe even zoom out a little, it looks fantastic. So yeah, here there's a bit of opaque paint used, and so another one with horse carriage. There are quite a few. There's going to be another one later on that I'm going to go back to, and you see it's very, like, if we zoom in, you can see all of the patches and it being separate, but it still works. And I think he does combine the important things, like this shadow, for example, is not fragmented. This shadow here is still very even. The horses here in the background, so I like that a lot about his work. Here he does some interiors, which is something that I really wanted to show you more of because we just didn't see many of these kinds of works. There will be a few more in a few moments that I really like, the interiors that he does. We have this chair here, negative painted around it, lots of flowers, this door or window, doorway, whatever it is, strong sense of light, which I really like. Here's another interior one that I think is beautiful. I'm going to zoom out a bit, and you can really feel the light pouring in and filling the room. You can't really tell what everything is, but it still works really well together. You have this probably coat hanger, something like that. Here there's maybe a clock or something like this, the picture here. And I actually listened to his video, and he said that I listened to it again after planning out this video, and he mentioned how he doesn't like to work too much wet and wet because he finds that everything just disappears on him. That's what he said. But that's like aside from that, he said he likes to work wet into wet, so he doesn't care to have two wet areas meet together. So that's another different thing. So let's continue here. We've got this one as well. Beautiful street scene is also something that he does. And if we move on, this is one of my favorites, actually. This boat painting I really like. And it's so simple, yet it reads so well. You can tell kind of what you're looking at. You have this boat, and it's in a kind of a dry dock, I guess, because of the texture here that you have on the floor. There's another small boat here, You can see some background hinting that there's something there. There's another one here, and it's all very, very simple. Let's zoom out a little, but you still feel, I want to say, anchored to the place, which is something I really, really like. You have some more opaque yellow here, all of these wires and stuff. He seems to use opaque paint quite freely. This one is another one I really like an old school train station, I guess. Really beautiful one. What is this thing? What is that? I don't really know. It's like a bench, a person. It's unclear, but it still works really well. You've got the, the fumes or steam coming out of the train, and then you see. So for this one, it seems like he did use white paint, but for this one, it's just pure negative painting, and this is what I like so much about his technique. It's so simple and accessible. It's like you just fill in the different areas. He did, I think, a wonderful job here on the left on the windows. You can see there's just a dry brush, but then because of the shadows at the top, it really indicates their shapes, and it reads really well. There's a very interesting negative painting around this white fence here, another horse carriage kind of painting. Quite a lot of these, as I mentioned. This one is a really, really nice one that I like a lot. To look at all the palm trees, and the colors here are beautiful. This is a rather unique one, I think. He usually doesn't work with these kind of colors scheme, but it's still very interesting. You see there's this awning or like shade, shadow, umbrella thing. All of these chairs here, the wheels and the reflections, just a beautiful work. Here's another interior one that it's a little more detailed, I guess, and I love it. You can see all the candles here, all the lamp. I forgot the word for that thing. Like there's a special one in Hebrew. It's nivreshet, so we don't just call it a lamp. There's this beautiful painting here on the wall. I love how he does interiors of rooms that have large windows in them. So we have this large window on the right, this one here, and another one here. In this table, you see that it casts a strong shadow. This one as well. Just beautiful. This is, I think, one of my favorites here. Moving on, another street scene, quite beautiful. Sweet shop, that's nice. Just now I noticed it. And all the people are really, they're full of life, and like you can tell that they're looking through the window trying to see what they have to eat here or to offer. These people sitting under the awning are looking at the street, at the other people walking by. And finally, this brings us to the last painting that I actually want to review more in depth. And also, I will recreate it, as I mentioned, and we'll share with you just a bit of the process and maybe the rest in a future video. So in any case, what I like about this one, I'm going to just start top to bottom. We have the composition here, which I really like. You can see how this building on the right really takes up a lot of the space. It's like a main component here. And you can also see a lot of details on it, like the entrance, the doorway, this roof here, the windows. Then on the left, we have this, I guess, building complex or several buildings that are slightly less detailed, but still you can see a lot of information. You have the rooftop here with the chimneys, the windows, and everything. Very interesting with the light. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. Now, I really like the way he simplifies things, and you notice this especially under these awnings. You have all of the people. It's kind of like a market, I guess, and you can see all of the tiny figures. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. So yeah, a lot of tiny figures, and then we've got these crates of merchandise or produce, I guess, of the market. Very colorful and differently colored awnings. We've got the salespeople maybe sitting behind their crates or standing next to them, and it's just so simplified and beautiful. And I like the way he approached this one. Now we have the boats, which are kind of the main point of interest, just because they're at the very front. So what I like about these, and I think I find very attractive about boat paintings in general, is that usually if the boat is on water or on a wet surface, it allows you to combine two very interesting things, which is dry brush, usually for the details on the boats. You can see them here on the black line. here on the blue stripes. Here, that's kind of a dry stroke. But then under the boats, you know, not always, like this one's a dry brush as well, but sometimes under the boat you can have more room for wet and wet. And this combination of wet and dry brush, I think is really, really beautiful, and it's something that I'm trying to capture whenever possible. So that's one thing that I really like about this. Now there's next thing is a lot of negative painting around here that I really like, mainly around the highlights. So if you look at this car, he didn't even draw it, it's just portrayed using the shadow from the back. Same for this car here in the background or whatever that is. Same for the sails of the boats, and actually the boats themselves, you know, this is just the paper white probably left untouched, and then he worked his way around the right sides of the boat. We have negative painting here as well on this these awnings, and it's just beautiful. I love the way it looks. Next up, there's I think interesting light and shadow in general with this one. There's plenty of mid values and then some shadows and highlights. I actually turned this into black and white so you can see here. Mostly I would say this is mid values. Like if you look at the sky, they're pretty dark. This building as well is pretty dark, but then we've got some sunlight coming through here, this side, here, around the cars, around the right sides of the boats. But for the most part, it's the mid values, and then we have also some shadows here and here and here. The windows, under the awnings, under the boats, which I find to look really good and very balanced in terms of the I guess dispersion of different types of values. So that's a good thing. Now the one thing that I did notice, at least for me, is that this painting led to a circular eye motion, kind of a very interesting thing. So I'm immediately attracted to these boats because they're at the most front. This is how it worked for me, at least when I analyzed how this influenced me. So I looked at the boats and then I was pulled towards this doorway here because it's very prominent. Maybe I would take a look here, but then I went up here all the way to the top to this roof, and then this sharp shadow kind of pushed me to the left and got me to this building here, which I found to be beautiful as well. And then we have another sharp angle that pushed me back to the tree, maybe this area here with the people and the cars, and back to the boats. So it's like this circular movement around it, which I think is very interesting and just keeps me inside the painting. So I really enjoyed this one, and then I decided to recreate it, as I mentioned. So what I'm going to do now is pop into that process, and again I'm going to show you just a little bit of the process, not everything of course, because it's really long, and let me know if you want me to post it as a separate video, okay? So this is it in terms of the review. Let's move on to the quick process and then wrap it up.
So this is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Here's once again the final result of the recreation of his painting, which I'm very pleased with. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process, hearing my opinion about his work. We've taken a turn back to the impressionistic artwork, kind of the similar style that I did up until the Votsmush episode. So maybe the next one I'm going to try and make it a little more interesting. Maybe we're going to focus on portraits or people. I'm going to find something that will captivate some others of you that maybe have not connected with just the landscape work. Okay, so I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. I will put in the description box, as always, there's a link to my beginner's drawing course. I also now have created a second course on shading, so you definitely want to check that out. I'm going to put it in the description box alongside other other paintings. Also, as always, I just want to remind you there's timestamps for everything, so you can quickly navigate parts of the video. Okay, so just if you want to move quickly in between parts or some part bores you, you want to skip ahead. This is it. Also my Instagram and lots of stuff. Just check it out down there below. Thank you so much. Let me know what you thought of this one, and I will see you again in another vid real soon.